Good afternoon, good afternoon. Good afternoon, guys. Welcome to Upfront with Caz. We're just going to wait for everyone to join us. Today, an exciting show. Pabi Moloi, and I want to talk to her about how she got into the industry as a child star and the ups and downs of the industry, struggles she's been through, how she attained strength, and of course, talk about the industry a bit more, and then talk about where we are as a country, because last week we talked about the financial aspects and everyone stressing about their jobs and securities. We want to talk about what she talked about on the radio this weekend, just to catch you guys up with where we are. This is Upfront with Caz. My name is Caz Abrahams, and we're just waiting for Pabi to join us. So please stand by. And of course, I do this every day with different specialists in their field, shall we say. Yesterday we were with Colin Nathan. Day before we were with Flomla Dandala. I call the show with Flomla Real to Real because we talk about movies and acting and stuff like that. And then of course yesterday was boxing. We talked about Floyd, Money, Mayweather. Today it's Pabi Moloi, and we're talking everything entertainment, we're talking everything wellness, a very holistic approach. And of course lots more to come during the month. I've got musicians lined up, other celebrities, psychologists. I've got an exciting interview with Basitsani coming on after the 25th. The mere fact that we're doing it for love and we keep it going like that. What's up, Ikion? So we're waiting for Pabi to join us, and we're on in, we're right live here and Upfront with Caz at Picasso, and of course this is your IGTV show. Daily, we're doing this for the love of it, for the passion. Because if you're doing things for the passion, that will drive you, and of course, it won't feel like a job. And as this is something I always did, always wanted to do. In fact, I was telling people a couple of weeks ago, it was Upfront with Caz was my first article that I used to write in a local newspaper growing up. And I always wanted to make it into some sort of talk show where I'm talking to people. And after lockdown, hopefully we'll take it to a bigger studio, but for now it's working out so far so good, and we're just having fun with it. Just waiting for Pabi to join us, so stay tuned for more. There we go. Upfront with Caz and Pubs, and of course here she's joining us. Let us hook her up onto the. There we go. Moloi. So good afternoon if you just joined us. Welcome to Upfront with Caz. Today my guest is Pabi Moloi. Just in time. I'm going to give you a drum roll.
Better you than me. I can't roll my R's, but I can't do that. So.
The red lorry.
Red lorry, yellow lorry.
Yeah, red lorry, yellow lorry. I used to do that with my kids when I was ready for an MC job or an acting job. I used to be like, red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry. Welcome to the show. Let me just officially introduce you. Guys are joining us. Welcome to the show. This is Upfront with Caz. And every Wednesday we catch up with Pabi Moloi and we talk everything about entertainment, wellness. Of course, Pabi is a well-known radio and TV presenter. She started off as a child star. The first week we interviewed you, we talked a lot about your background and coming through the industry. We didn't record that because we had a few glitches. We were still getting the channel up and going. So I want to take you back today. I want you to draw back on all your memories of when you started in the industry. You started off with a family and a mum that was in the industry already. So we want to go through the highlights of your career. So everybody that's watching will know exactly why I keep coming back to this very talented lady named Pabi Moloi. How are you first and foremost?
I'm great. I'm great.
Do you have your water there?
Did I what?
Your water bottle.
I've got my water.
I got my wine. Got a different
color.
Oh,
and my weirdly colored banana. Don't judge me.
Banana no.
Banana no. But I'm great. We just had some school outside with the little one, and then I was painting, And I'm telling you, like, I've got all of these talents. So, like the face, the acting, the singing, the talking, the whatever. But I never ever thought that I had the drawing or painting skills and talents. And I mean, it's not something that I would, go out and pursue. But I enjoyed it so much today. I was having such a good time with watercolors. And of course, he's in his element. So I've left him outside with Granny so that they can carry on painting. And I'm having a beautiful day.
Kids love the tactile stuff, working with stuff,
Yeah.
creating stuff. So,
Yeah.
and it's a lovely way to grow their confidence. Like last week, you talked about encouraging people and the small celebrations. Even if a kid lifts up his neck, yay!
Yes.
You
Yeah.
killed me on that one, by the way. So, Pubs, let's go back to as far back as you can remember.
Ooh.
First of all, did you want to get into the entertainment industry, or did you just sort of fall into it? And how old were you?
Well, I think it's both because I grew up. If you come to my house, everybody's singing, everybody's reciting some sort of either poetry or Shakespeare or,
So you got someone in the corner, to be or not to be. That is the question.
like people are just extra in this family.
My
Like,
God.
it's a lot. So, so I grew up with that. I grew up with, I knew jazz standards and I knew like excerpts of famous lines from Shakespeare before I even went to school.
Yeah.
And that was just the way my family was. My grandfather was an actor. He was in the original King Kong that toured the world with Hugh Masekela and Dorothy Masuka. I think she was in it, and Miriam Makeba. It was just huge. And he toured the world. My aunt was a ballet dancer and she toured the world as well. She was the first black prima ballerina to play Juliet in Romeo and Juliet. And they traveled the world as well. And so my grandfather has this amazing picture on Trafalgar Square with all of the pigeons on him in London. And my aunt has this amazing picture of herself with the cast members in Trafalgar Square. And so the first time I went to London, I had to go onto Trafalgar Square and I had my picture there as well. And I actually like cried because this is so many full circles, which may seem small to others, but if you think about where we come from and who we are and the collective we, who am I speaking for, is my family, but my family in the apartheid context in South Africa, all of it is very intense. So there we were. And
This is not something that, like, I'm also learning something new, and I'm your friend. But I knew there was more depth to this talent, everything else. That's amazing. So your grandpa, your aunt, your mom.
And of course, my mom. My mom was, I think, first she was a singer. So she became a major pop star in the 80s. My dad was also a big pop star. Yeah. I mean, my mom jokes that she was like, "Oh, I thought we were going to be like, like Womack and Womack, or yeah, Ashra Simpson." Like she really like Jay and Beyonce, right? This is what they were going to be, but eventually, this is what they were. They just created me, and the rest is history. And so getting into television at first wasn't necessarily something that they pushed me into. No one ever did. I was just always around. I was around in the business. I'd travel around to radio stations with my mom. But my anchoring into what I do began at school. Yeah. So if there was, a reading at the Catholic school, who's going to come up and read John chapter 5? Me. It's me.
So
calm down.
Which school did you go to?
I went to a school called Sacred Heart College.
So Hlomla went to the same school. Were you in school?
Yes. So Hlomla's quite a bit older than I am. Okay. So when I was leaving to go into high school, I think he was matriculating. Wow. But yeah, if not a little bit more. But I remember him coming to watch one of our productions when I was in high school and just being like, "Oh my gosh, it's Hlomla Dantala!" Like they were so iconic to us, you know.
Yes.
So yeah, this was what I did. I sang in every choir performance. I had a solo. I wanted to be in every show. I mean, that was me fully. I
Yeah.
loved drama. I remember the bell would ring to go into any subject and I would drag my feet. But when it was music, I would sprint, and I don't run. You know, I still don't. I do not run, but I would sprint to go to the music room because I loved it so much. I remember feeling like it was an out of body experience.
Yeah.
You know, anytime I had something to sing or a solo to do, or you know, being on stage or preparing, or you know, and I love all of the like behind the scenes stuff too. So the prep work and the rehearsals and writing and setting up the stage and striking the stage when the show's over. I loved every single thing about that. So it was only natural for me to veer into that path. But I was very fortunate that my family understood how the business worked. And so I didn't ever work kind of through my parents, if that makes sense. Like they never got me any jobs, but I would audition. And I did my first commercial when I was 4 years old.
What was it for?
It was for a literacy campaign called Read. And I remember at 4, I could read.
There's you reciting Shakespeare.
And so I remember I had to look into the sun, or I had to look at my book and then smile and look into the sun like I'm thinking some deep thoughts at the age of 4. And
Yeah.
I just remember how I loved being on set, and I loved the experience, and I loved performing. I just always did. So that was my first commercial, and I did many, many commercials all the way through until I was 11, when I had an audition to do TV presenting for KTV.
Yeah.
And
They
that audition...
they changed the industry, kind of.
What, KTV?
Yeah, because I mean, it was like the first of its kind on a channel that was pretty new and on another level.
Yeah.
What was that like when that whole thing happened? Did you know how big it was going to be?
No, I had no idea how big it was going to be. And I also didn't know how strategic it was. So, you know, whoever the heads of NASPA's, MultiChoice, Mnet, whatever, were quite smart and strategic in bringing on these young black faces at that time. And then, you know, every year they'd do a summer tour where they'd tour all of the coastal cities and do a show. And it was the KTV4 Africa summer tour that we did. And we were all there in like our kurtas and our, you know, African...
So what you don't know is it was called the Mnet Summer Festival.
Mm-hmm.
And on the Mnet Summer Festival, we used to be...
I don't know. I saw you there. I know.
You were the kids. Okay, so I thought I was the MC on the Mnet Summer Festival, Mr. Beach Boys and stuff. You guys used to be on the stage doing the kiddie stuff. How amazing, eh?
Really quite profound. And I looked back, maybe at the end of high school. I was like, hang on, this was in 95, 96. I mean,
Yes.
This makes perfect sense that this would be why it was done in this way.
Yes.
So, you know, there's a lot of good fortune and good grace. But also, you know, when you think about how hard my family worked to set themselves up, to have a standard, to have the level of education, to have all of what they gave to me, it is just fitting that, you know, we, generation by generation, the next one does something a little bit, you know, maybe not greater per se, but something that's in the lane that still forwards the narrative.
We as a family, we pass something on to our kids no matter what.
Yeah.
Whether the sins of the father or the blessings of the father, you got to accept. If you accept one, you accept the other.
Exactly.
And I think that's we've got a place where we accept that it comes as a bag of tricks. Okay, so finally, I even forgot about the Mnet Summer Festival. Now, shoot, you got me thinking. Okay, so now you're a kid on KTV, and then now you're going into your teenage years. So what starts happening there as a person? How do you start feeling about yourself?
So, I mean, I was nervous. I didn't know what was going to happen next. And I knew that this is the business that I wanted to be in. So I Like I dabbled with some other courses, thinking about what to apply for. I also knew that I didn't want to go straight into like musical theater. I just knew that maybe that would be a bit limiting for me. So after one of our productions, the guys from Pretoria Tech said, you must come to study at Pretoria Tech. It's the only place to go for musical theater. But then I heard on the radio, because radio was a very big part of my life, that there was a school that was doing contemporary music. What's contemporary music? And Kathy broke it down. So it was singing, jazz, if you wanted to take up an instrument, if you wanted to learn the history of music, the history of contemporary music, you could, do band rehearsal as well. So you'd learn how to be cohesive with a band. And I thought, that's for me. That is so totally for me. And so I walked into LMB campus, and I'd been writing pop songs for years. And I meet Roy Benjamin, who is now RJ Benjamin, and he auditions me, and I get into the school. And that's what I studied. I studied contemporary music. And then a year into that, a friend of mine from college heard on the radio that a certain radio station was having auditions for a big kind of idols style competition for radio. And I got up that next Saturday. I stood in the line for hours and hours, and out of however many thousand people, I won the competition. And that's how my radio journey started. So that really is where my life changed, because radio is a completely different, A, kettle of fish, B, a different industry and a different set of skills that I need, but also a very different set of rewards that I reap. Radio is amazing. And radio, I think, has been the reason for much of my sustainability in the industry, being able to, bounce in and out of different TV projects, be, a little bit older now when I was very young, being overweight, being like, whatever it is, radio's been constant.
So radio's been your...
Yeah. And so I have the utmost respect for radio. I think radio is just so powerful. And I can, God willing, be on radio for the rest of my life. I can be 89 years old. And whether it's in traditional radio the way it is now, or in podcasting, or whatever it is, the radio of the future, it doesn't matter.
Really
it doesn't matter.
Do you feel that maybe by that big break with radio that it may have put your singing on a hold, whatever, or maybe play some sort of, because you got such a nice, let's just stop, because you got such a nice voice, and I find that sometimes when maybe you had something secure and you were scared of shaking that up with mixing up too many different things, what was it that held you back from maybe pursuing the music career?
I'll tell you, first of all, without a doubt, getting into a sustainable set of jobs. Like, I'm not gonna try, because that sounds like I'm not gonna pursue my dreams, because I've put out singles and I've performed, and I perform, if I'm asked to, I'll perform at Pride or in clubs or whatever it is. I've done that, and I will continue doing that because I love it. But seeing the Lyra's like an icon to me, right? And if you read that book of hers, her story, you understand what the business of music requires compared to the business of everything else, which I think that I've been able to, if not master, but at least learn how to survive in, right? And the business of music is like, I don't know who, how.
Yeah. I grew up in that industry, so I kind of know how hectic it can be. Also helped mentor RJ. I call him RJ because I named him RJ because
I'll tell you where did that come from? Because I always know.
So we were in my basement, Pabi. We were in my basement, and I'm recording demos. So remember, I'm releasing this project, Chocolate Hut, now only. But it was supposed to be released 2003.
No.
So I got all these artists, and then I finally come across RJ. I listened to his demo, and it sounds like so soulful. So we're in the basement, and we come up with Wonderwall. I don't know if you know that song.
Yes, of course, from his first album.
Okay, so that's one of my favorite songs by Oasis, but I also like D'Angelo. I like Neo Soul. So RJ's playing some.
Wonderwall.
Yes.
Yep,
So he's playing
Wonderwall.
exactly. So he's playing chords, and I said we need to do something like Brown Sugar, or by cruising by. I said D'Angelo redid Smokey Robinson's Cruising,
Smokies. Yeah.
and no one can just redo Smokey. I said if we could do that with another song. I mean, you're a white guy. What about Wonderwall? And we started playing around with it. Then you were singing it. I said, you know, bro, your name though. I mean, when I'm hearing your voice, I'm not hearing, ladies and gentlemen, it's Roy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I said, what are your initials? So he said, RJ. I was like, RJ.
Yeah.
It's all about the Benjamins.
The Benjamins.
RJ. He looked at me. He was like, okay. You know, RJ.
Yeah.
So that's how the name came. So anyway,
that's amazing.
So ups and downs, ups and downs. I know about the industry. That's why I keep on pushing you. Now that Chocolate Hat's on the ground, we're going to record you sooner rather than later. But
You know, the
anyway,
day will come, and the day will come for me, I
perfect.
think, not necessarily as like a performing pop star artist, whatnot. I think I have two very specific dreams for myself to do with my music, and they will be in actuality when I'm a certain age. I want to be like a Sade, and I also want Sade to come and perform at my after hours spot, because that's what I want to do. I want to own a
You know, Sade is one of
place by the beach.
You know, Sade is one of my crushes.
Oh gosh, Sade is amazing. Who doesn't crush on Sade?
I mean, I always wish I was the male version of her, just to be able to be like, smooth.
Who is the
untried.
male version of her?
I think
Maxwell.
Maxwell. Yeah. Because Maxwell, by the way, uses the same band. Sade's band played. If you listen to Maxwell's first albums, the Urban House,
Yes.
the same band, Stuart Matherman. That's why the same energy comes through. Okay?
Yeah, so that'll happen. So that's the first reason why I don't necessarily want to, not
There's
don't
no rush.
want to pursue it. It's just not something that I feel like is emergent, you know. But the second reason is that, was I about to lie to you? Why do I not remember the second reason? Hang on.
No, you said you got these two goals, and obviously you want to do that Sade thing. And I think where you're trying to go to with this, if I may be so frank as to say.
Oh, no, I've got it.
Yes.
The second reason is I know Mariah Carey's voice, Whitney Houston's voice, Celine Dion's voice. Like, I'm not going to try and be. I don't want. Those are singers for me.
You want to be
I
you.
know, but those are singers for me. And so I then am a performer and a musician, and so that's going to be the way that I bring my music to the world eventually. But it's definitely not like that.
Yeah. So it's like I was about to say, yours would be about content and quality and really talking about your experiences. Because if you look at the people that are following you and asking you questions, it's all about the fact that you inspire them. They want to know, how do they be like you? How do they get through struggle? So you're going to have to talk about content that's more than just pop lyrics or throwing your falsetto around. It's got to be on the money. And there's no rush anyway. There's no rush.
Well, as long as there's breath in my body, there's an opportunity, you know?
So let's move on to TV now. So now you're doing the radio thing. And we know we're going to get the music because I got that on camera. We're going to be doing that music thing. So
you
TV,
know how
what is your
many times I've been interviewed by everybody and they're like, when Pabi's music coming soon?
No, but the difference is I write and I produce. So I just send you a beat, keep on sending you. What I wanted to ask you is, so when you got into radio, what TV show came, because you've done a few different TV shows, what came and sort of helped you become this woman in the limelight now? Because you were a kid star now. What helped you launch you as a young lady?
Yeah, so So I was 19 when I left KTV, and I was on the radio. And then there was a show called Comedy Cabin. I got an audition, come to the SABC, do this, that, and third. So I came through and I auditioned. And Desmond Dube phones me and says, look, this is my show and I want you on the show. Your audition was the best one. So the SABC has got some issues with a few things. How would you feel about us creating a narrative rather than having you as a presenter? So we'll create the narrative that you are traveling the country with your uncle from the village, and he's like like a village superstar, comic guy, and you have been studying overseas or whatever, because the issue was the way I speak. That was their big issue. They wanted Twaza and they got Pabi. And so if we create this narrative and we create a character for you, would you be okay with doing that? And I was like, let's go. So that kind of crossed me over in a lot of ways, because then Batubab Buang Sesotho could see that I was, me. And different doors opened as a result of that. So shout out to Desmond Dube, just like he gave me my first break.
And I remember Des, before you got into TV, I think I'm quite old, Pabi. I think my name suits me, Abraham, because I've been here a minute. I keep looking and meeting people that have been in the industry, and they're like, yeah, I remember when I was like, sure, I knew when you started.
Yeah.
I knew you when you started.
It's quite amazing.
So after that, what happened? What show did you get on from there?
So, I'm not going to be able to remember chronologically shows, but I do know that after then I moved.
Talk about highlights and
then I moved to YFM. No. I was at Highveld first, then I moved to Metro. Yes. Then I moved to Y. Then I moved back to Highveld. Then I moved to Power, where I am now. Yes. So that's been the radio journey. But throughout, I mean, television's just been I've been so blessed. I've been so blessed. It's really been plentiful. I did a show on the SABC called The Amazing Date with Trevor Noah. And again, like an interview where, I went in, because this is what the channels don't tell you. They already know who they want to be their presenters.
Yes.
So you must just go to the audition.
Against each other to see, so they can present to clients. Oh, we got A, B, or C.
But they know exactly what they want. And they created that show for Trevor alone. Yes. They created that show for Trevor. But I came in and my audition was just apparently amazing, that they created a slot for a second presenter. So, I just kept humble enough to keep auditioning. At a certain stage, like, I don't want to audition. What am I auditioning for? You can see my work anywhere.
But in this country,
in the world. What I'm saying is that's the feeling. But the understanding is, Meryl Streep probably still has to audition from time to time.
But I was talking to Flomla about this, Pabi, the other day, and we talk about the how the industry worked in this country before. They had a situation where as soon as you became too big, let's say you became very high profile and naturally your wages would go up and everything else, they'd sort of snip you.
Yes.
And they wouldn't allow for you to be starting to negotiate, okay? So they didn't allow you to build your own brand.
Yes.
And then what happens is you become so overexposed that you'd be going for 50 jobs and you'd be out of top 2, but you won't get the job because they know you from Big Bucks Bonanza or whoever. And then you have to take a break. Luckily, you had radio. So you had radio the way I had fitness. And at some point you realize, okay, I've got to step away to give it a break. So when I come back, it's a different energy, or you've given enough time, which is unfortunate, but it's the way it is. It's the way it was.
I mean, it is the way it is. And, if you are fortunate to be able to take gaps and step back, then you're also able to, hand pick your projects
That's right.
Because I don't want to do every single thing that is out there. You know, at some point I know that there are things that I would be better suited for. So I'm happier to do that.
On that note, is there anything that you did that you felt, I shouldn't have done that? I mean, I know in the bigger picture everything worked out the way it was supposed to, but was there something that you thought, or that had a negative effect on your career?
It didn't have a negative effect on my career, but I think the actual doing of it was not what I expected, A, and B was just too much work for what it was. Yeah. I don't know if I want to say what it is, because I might still want to work with those people. But there was a show that I did recently that was like so much work, so much like being away, being on set, being on location, flying, da 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 da. And I if I travel with my kid, and so you know he also then needs someone to look after him. So it's like it's a caravan of people who have to move around, and it was just so much for eventually like what it was and what it did for my career, which was like not really huge. So I think very carefully now about if I have to travel with a show, if I have to miss radio days. I don't like to miss radio days at all. But beyond that, every single show that I've done has been wonderful in some way or another, just based on the fact that I get to work with brand new people. And I love to learn our craft. So if I'm working with a director, you know, who's doing things very differently, I love to watch how they operate and then learn to self-direct, to you know what I mean? So it becomes easier and easier and easier, hopefully, to work with me. And I get that a lot. Like, you know, you can put a script in front of me right now and throw me in front of anything, and I'll be able to do it because I've rehearsed so much by doing the actual job.
You've done it for so long. I mean, there's that story about 10 years or 10,000 hours to become an overnight sensation. I think we've put in enough hours to like earn the right to do something.
So what happens when you're on your 20,000 hours? Like then, what bonus do you get?
I'm about on my 30,000th hour right now. And so it's all God's grace at this point. You understand?
Yeah.
At this point, it's like, because you just talked about, you want to get to a point where you don't just rush into things. Now you're doing things for the right reason. It's really about trusting and really making letting your intuition guide you and doing the best that you can be and being as authentic as you can be. Because otherwise, what?
Exactly. I mean, I'm going to have to think about a lot of things moving into a different phase of my life. And, you know, this lockdown has been very interesting and instrumental in making those things top of mind. You know, what is it that I actually have so much joy in every day, you know? And like my dream was to kind of be able to live housewife life, but not be at anybody's like under anybody's thumb, right? So I don't want to rely on a husband to give me the housewife life. So I've been able to give myself housewife life, and that's what I'm doing now. And it's extraordinary because, you know, now I'm thinking, how do I maintain this? How do I get this to be how I live every day? I don't necessarily, you know, want to not work, but I don't want to be running around like a headless chicken. It's hectic. It's very hectic. And I will run around like a headless chicken, which I did with Trending Essay, for a project that I love, that I can't get enough of it. And you know, those aren't every single day. So I don't know. And I also I pray for it. I pray for it and I stay ready. Although I'm still not working out, so I don't know. Although yesterday my brother said to me, from the days of Strictly Come Dancing to now, I've lost the weight and kept it off. And he was kind of bigging me up. He was like, it's actually quite amazing that you've been able to do that. I'm like, yeah, well, you know.
But you changed, no matter what you think, how hard you think it's been, You did turn a corner, and you've been through a lot of different things that have gotten you to this point. That's why so many people are looking up to you. And on that note, there was a lady earlier on that asked a question. What does a person do if someone looks up to you to be like you or to be in a situation like you, work-wise, and have the influence that you do? What advice do you have?
So, I mean, work-wise, I can advise. But, life-wise, you don't know if you have a better life than I do. I have circumstances that are quite grueling. But everybody has their bag of things that they carry. Work-wise, I think the idea is to create consistency. I had some things happen over these last 2 or 3 months that could have broken a brand. But, over the 20 years that I've been active, I've been very, very consistent. So I have people who I work with who I've worked with since those KTV days, Yeah. I'm on time. I'm polite. I know my lines when I get on set. I treat everybody equally. Those aren't things that I'm like arrogant about, but I'm just saying if you're consistent and you are a welcome addition to anybody's anything, of course they're going to either forward you or promote you or bring you along, and also forgive you, because you're going to have challenging times. You're going to have times where you drop the ball. It's going to happen, And if it doesn't happen, then good for you, fine. But I'm like, I roll my eyes, like, just be a human, right? These things do happen. Like, because there are some people like, they've never missed a day of work. Well, congratulations, you're a robot. The rest of us, some things will happen that you'll have to take some time away and recalibrate and do what you need to do. And don't shy away from that. Also, be who you are. Yes. Because if you're able to say, look, I by nature am not, I'll do a perfect example for you. When I was in my very early teens and 20s, had long blonde hair, weaves. I wore pink lipstick. I was just like, you remember that? And that's exactly who I was at that time. I couldn't be like natural girl. This would have freaked me out. That's exactly who I was at that time. And so I was doing like shoe campaigns and doing all sorts of very strange things. When I turned that corner, now I cannot in my spirit like go on and do a 4-hour broadcast about like people's clothes and makeup. Like that would, what are we talking about here? What is the purpose of this? And you know what I mean? So be who you are, show your authenticity. I mean, it isn't about judging anybody or being down on anybody. Everybody's got their space and their place, but who you are will always get you through.
Yeah, be who you are, where you are. I mean, geez, that's crazy, because if people look at us now, they will remember someone asked the other day, is that Caz? Because I was the epitome of metrosexual. I mean, everything was groomed. I don't know how I kept that mustache. I don't know how I maintained that. I don't not have the energy. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's about getting up, giving thanks, and it's gone to a place where it's more internal as far as wondering what people think about the external. Because ultimately that's...
Yeah, and I mean, I'm Capricorn. We like nice things. I will always like nice things. I have not been able to go see someone to do my nails or do my grooming or anything, but I'm still like Sir Fix-a-Lot doing things myself because I do enjoy that self-pampering, right?
It's funny. My 8-year-old daughter is also Capricorn.
Yeah.
So I was speaking to her over the screen, and she's showing to me. She's got this app on her iPad doing nails. She says, "Daddy, look. I've got all these nail designs, Daddy."
I mean, and that's part of who I am. I did go through a phase where I thought maybe I must be one of these like roots and culture. and just like, grow my armpit hair and just be like one of these people, and like the essence of me is very roots and culture, very politically woke, but I also have this duality where I like things a certain way as well. So I think it also comes with age, and I'm fortunate. I feel very, very fortunate to be this age at this time with my set of circumstances, because I think it may have been a lot more difficult if I was younger and still kind of wondering who I am. Because at this age, I'm like, so what? You're gonna hate me? Then what must I do? Like, I get people saying, oh, I used to think you're so beautiful. Now you're not my crush anymore. But it's not even a hard. Like, then what? Like, is there more?
So,
Is there another part of this message? Because that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. Like, I'm still going to see.
Send them a picture of 10 years ago. Okay, here's a picture from, this is my Z card from 10 years ago. I'll sign it for you.
The phone starts ringing when I speak the truth. Somebody's watching and listening. They want to phone me. Yeah.
This is crazy, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Perhaps we could go on and on and on. I think it's time to close the show, but to share some love with the people that have followed the journey, because we're doing something that's so real and authentic right now. There's no brands that are telling us how to speak, what to speak, and hopefully not just the woke people, but people that want enlightenment. They want to face their truth and will see the truth in us, will see what we're trying to do. And it's about letting everyone else out there know that we all come from the same space, we all have the same potential. Over to you for the last words to all the lovely people that are watching.
All right, I'm taking a selfie of us first, so look fly. Oh no, you're gonna make me laugh with that face.
I'm all serious with pictures. And
Yeah.
as soon as the picture snapped, I start smiling again.
Really? That's too good. All right, so this week, so I'm healing from a very specific kind of abuse that happened to me in like, let's say the last like 5 years. And what I thought the thing to do, like by nature, if I'm dealing with something, I go and I read everything. I gather all the information. I immerse myself in it. I become obsessed with it. And one of the new therapists that I'm talking to said, you've actually just now got to remove yourself from that space, like from that specific thing. So this is something that now I know the information about, and I don't have to every single day look for signs and symptoms and figure out how to do this and that. So I suppose what I'm saying is have some balance. It's time to move on. So if there are things that have been plaguing you and hurting you, make sure that you're doing your treatment and taking your medicine, whatever that is, if it's exercise, if it's speaking to someone, if it's going to support groups, whatever it is. But then also make space for the new. So I think I was walking around feeling like an abused person, because I was, but there is now space for the new. That isn't going to be all my life. That isn't the definition of who I am. And it's incredible. Like in the last 2 or 3 months, I feel like a completely different person, and it's remarkable. So if you're going through something, if you're going through challenge, over and above Corona challenge, just take it easy and have absolute faith that this isn't the full stop of your story. This isn't what's going to be written as you are remembered as. You control that. You define that for yourself. And I'm stepping into that space in my life. So yes, low Fahrenheit, healing can't be intellectualized. It's a process, and give yourself a break.
That was wonderful. I think my little spice to that is leave the past. In the past we learn, we fell forward, be in the present, and have ultimate gratitude for what you have now, because it's almost like the universe feels when you are grateful and will bring more
Right?
things for. And what more can we do as human beings?
Yeah,
Thank you, Pabi
it's so
Moloi.
beautiful. So beautiful. Thank you.
So
Thank you,
next
Caz.
week, I'll see you next week, and then next week we'll start talking about. I want to talk about wellness, and
Yeah.
let's venture into this together and unpack with each other and with the rest of the people watching, so we all grow together on this journey.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank
you so
you. And
much.
thank you for this platform. It's always great to chat to you. And thanks for everybody who tuned into our live broadcast.
Anyone. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right.
Namaste.
See you soon. Namaste.
Namaste,
Nah,
mama.
nah, I'm going to stay home. Bye.
God bless. Right. Thank you, guys. We'd like to thank Moloi for joining us. What an awesome interview that was. And we're trying to keep it as real as possible for you. That's why I'm unpacking this every week, talking to different people, whether it's Somla on a Monday, Colin Nathan talking about sports on a Tuesday, Pabi on a Wednesday. We're going to talk about everything we've been through, where we are. So hopefully the people that come after will have some breadcrumbs for you, because there were people that shared with us knowledge, and it's only right that we share with each other. We wish you a wonderful day further. God bless you, and please have a beautiful day further. Goodbye.